and welcome to Torch Hours. In this episode, I'm going to take you through part 1 of hiking the Cloche Silhouette Trail in Killarney Provincial Park, Ontario. It was a 7-day hike over 86.6 kilometers. We planned this hike about a year ago. The hiking group that I belong to decided that we would try to do one multi-day hike a year, and we decided to do one close to home and chose the Cloche Silhouette Trail. It is considered to be one of the most challenging in Canada and certainly Ontario. Most people do the hike over 7 to 10 days. As I mentioned, we did it in 7, and the kilometers are a little bit debatable, and I think that is because there are some side trails for going to the campsites. They're not all right on the trail, which is actually really nice. And because some people may not actually complete the full loop. So we started at the George Lake parking lot on Tuesday, October the 15th, around, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because we drove from Toronto and we did stop for brunch on the way. And we traveled 7.3 kilometers from George Lake to our first campsite at H6 on Cave Lake. We actually had originally a larger group of about 10 people, so we had to book 2 sites along the way, and in the end several had to back out, so we had 7 people. The maximum is 6 people per campsite, so we did split up and we divided ourselves amongst the 2 campsites. On our first day, we parked at George Lake, and we parked here at George Lake, and we walked or hiked past Acid Lake, and we ended our day at H6 on Cave Lake. On the second day, we left H6 and we traveled along. This is where it's called the Pig, this big portage is from here to there. We took the detour to check out and overlook Topaz Lake. Then we came back and we followed the trail, ending our day at H17 on Three Narrows Lake. On our third day, we left H17. We traveled what seemed like a very long time around the Three Narrows Lake, and we made our way to H22. On day 4, we carried on. We passed the little mountain lake where we had booked one of our sites, and that would have just been too short of a day. And we carried on to H34 on David Lake. On day 5, we traveled from David Lake. We chose not to go to Silver Peak that day, and which would have taken us here, and we carried on, and we ended at Bunny Rabbit Lake, staying at Site 45. On day 6, we left Bunny Rabbit Lake. See, it looks like a chocolate bunny. And we carried on. I love the look of Heaven Lake, but I believe that was for a smaller group. And on we went. We passed Prue Lake, which looked gorgeous. And we actually had both Prue and Little Superior booked. I ended up staying at Little Superior, but checked out Prue. Both are just fantastic sites, but Little Superior Lake had the sun that we were craving. On day 7, we left Little Superior Lake and we traveled to the Crack, the highlight of anticipation for those of us who hadn't been there. Had a really great time there, and then carried on. Now you'll see there's this trail here. This is where a lot of day use people will hike from. There's a parking lot here, but we had to carry on, so on we went. and we end it at George Lake where we had parked before to make it a full circle. Where was that? Somewhere around here. This kind of gives you an idea of the loop that we did over the 7 days. Something that's really cool about this map is on the back side, there is the elevation map. So you can see all the elevation that this trail takes you on over that 86 kilometers. It's quite impressive. We didn't pass a lot of other hikers along any of the days of our hikes, and I think this was in part to the time of year being mid to late October, possibly part to the number of campsites available. You do have to reserve your specific sites before you embark on this trail. On day one, we kind of passed two groups. So there was a trio of men that we passed at one of the lakes, one of the first campsites on the lakes. They seemed to be lingering there before carrying on, and we stopped a little after that to picnic on some rocks, and they passed eventually while we were having our little afternoon picnic. And then there was a couple that passed as well around that time, and we later learned they stayed at Topaz Lake that night. This first day was supposed to be our coldest and wettest day, but really we lucked out. It was a bit cold, but not terrible, and the rain held out until we reached our campsite. And when it did rain, it was very, very light. It really didn't impact us at all. The only animal that we saw on our first day was a grouse. It's gonna cross the path. Hold on. It's crossing. There was an opportunity to take a shortcut. I think this is a well-known opportunity around the dam, but we decided we would stick to the trail, and we have zero regrets on that. I would say probably the most challenging part of the first day, other than a few hills, was this bridge that we were quite thankful for having low water levels, because I think that this bridge would be a bigger challenge had the water levels been higher, like in the spring. I really loved the cave-like campsite. The reason why: there was beautiful quartzite, the lake was beautiful, the cave was mysterious, we were able to see the sunset and the moon rise, and that 80,000-year-old comet, which was spectacular, with the nearly full hunter's moon casting some light into the sky. This is rainbow rain. There was one designated tent pad at Cave Lake, but there was really plenty of room for other tents and for hammocks if there were hammock sleepers in your group. Tree room. Yeah. It's a tree man or tree. What would you call this? A little bit later, the rain came back but seemed to stick right to the lake. I thought that it was going to come in at one point. You can hear in the video my anticipation, but in the end it just stayed over the water. It was absolutely stunning to watch. The rain is about to hit. As you know, I make all of my dehydrated meals for backpacking, and I tried a new recipe for my first night. I did dehydrated buttered chicken, and because it was the first night, I toasted naan the day before I left and packed that in. Normally I wouldn't pack full non-dehydrated food in like bread. It was delicious, and it's something I would definitely do again.
Right?
Yep, okay.
Butter, chicken, and naan. What are you eating, Lee?
Naan and butter chicken.
Hanny, what are you eating?
This nice piece of steak.
What kind of steak is it?
Sirloin.
Oh, fancy. Yes. First night only.
First
treat.
night only.
Yeah.
And then downhill from here. Yeah. There's the cave.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks creepy in the dark.
It does, yeah.
I wonder what lives in it.
Backcountry amenities include a thunderbox, and depending on which site you're at, the thunderbox will be in marginally better condition than others. The other amenity is the trees for your bear hang. There are no bear boxes, which I really think the park should consider doing. But as you can see, we were prepared.
Let's do this one first and then, yeah. Right.
Well, we're gonna...
More. Wait, okay, ready? No. Wait. One. Hold on, lower it a little bit. Lower.
The rest of us are just commentating.
Yeah, let's go. All right, ready? On three, I'm throwing. Okay, 1, 2, go. Go.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's
Perfect.
it.
Wow.
Okay, that's it. There's just gonna go across.
All right.
On day 2, we woke up at 6 o'clock, and this is because we know historically it takes the group 2 hours and 45 minutes to get ready. We prefer to get up in the dark rather to get into our campsite in the dark because it is October and the days are shorter. You'll also see that I've been gifted a GSI mini solo espresso maker for my little stove, and I love it. It was a game changer for me, and I know every ounce or every gram counts when it comes to backcountry camping and backpacking, but for me this is a no-brainer. I can never enjoy my coffee in the mornings because I'm a sipper, so by the time I get around to it, it's time to leave or it's cold because it's obviously we're outdoors even with a good mug. So the espresso maker gives me the opportunity to chug it down, get my hit of caffeinated Java, and get to work on packing up. I guess it's done. At this time of year, we really had to be cautious because it is mating season for moose, and we were concerned about running into bulls. But I think because our group was just too big and loud, we didn't cross a single moose, even in the distance, on any of our days. Nor did we cross any bears, but we did see lots of evidence of beavers, and we did eventually see a beaver, which I will share. I think that's on day 3. Oh wow, this is so cool.
Wow.
On day 2, we had one major landmark challenge, which is called the Pig, which is an infamous portaging route. It is very steep and long, even if you're not portaging. So you can't avoid it, and it was pretty close to the beginning of our hike for the day. We stopped about halfway and did a detour to check out Topaz Lake, where, as I mentioned, that other couple had been staying or stayed that night. Look at it down there. It looks so pretty as I walk off the trail.
It makes a perfect little tiny home.
Topaz is known for its topaz blue colored water, which unfortunately we really didn't get to observe because the sky was just so gray at the time when we were there, but it was still beautiful, and I'm so happy that we did check it out. Topaz Lake on a gray day.
I think we're done with that.
We chose to go clockwise because we wanted to go from easier to harder terrain. We want to build up our endurance while lightening our pack. But we also heard and read that the scenery becomes more beautiful as you hike in the clockwise direction as opposed to going in the counterclockwise direction. The scenery may feel a little dull compared to your previous days on your last 2 days.
Oh yeah, around, right?
Around, I see the mountains up and down, and then all the way around.
Something man-made, but so gorgeous.
Such a beautiful view. Look at that.
Oh my gosh. On day 2, we passed only one group of 3 men and that couple from Topaz Lake.
Oh, I like that log.
In total, we hiked 12.8 kilometers that day to reach our campsite at H17 on 3 Narrows Lake. H17 is not west facing, and because we got in fairly late in the afternoon, we had lost most of the sun, so it was still quite chilly that day, and what made it a little more uncomfortable was that it was humid as well. But of course, we made the most of it, knowing that the rest of the hike we were promised some pretty good weather. On my second night, I had a full turkey meal, and this included dehydrated turkey, stuffing, gravy, sweet potato, cranberries, and I think broccoli.
It's warm enough, I think.
I also experimented with mug cake, which you can just find in the baking aisle. And I've tried it various times, putting it in a mug and doing that over the fire, but it takes forever, and it also is just so difficult to get out of a mug. And I didn't want to pack a metal mug. I brought a plastic GSI mug. So this time round, I brought a large parchment paper that you would use for cupcakes or muffins, and we made a little oven around the campfire, and it actually turned out okay. So I've got a few more ideas for future experimentation, but I'm glad that I did bring it along and I did try it. On day 3, we awoke to a very misty lake, and that mist followed us for a good portion of the morning. You'll see in the future pictures and videos, it added only beauty to our day. And as we did the hike, the leaves were starting to turn more and more. So you'll see a progression throughout the days of more fall colors. But the mist was beautiful. It reminds us that getting up early, even if you're not a morning person, I'm not, you really are rewarded for these special moments like this. Oh, I'm excited. I don't know why, but this looks really good, even if it's misty.
It has a little well.
As we were approaching probably our most challenging section of the entire trail for the 7 days, we came across 3 hikers going in the counterclockwise direction. They told us 2 pieces of information. One, they said that they wish they had also thought of packing shorts. And two, our campsite wasn't too far away. Only one of those was a truth. Not long after we passed them, we reached a crack in the rocks. This isn't the famous crack that most people do a day hike to. This was another one and much more serious. The descent is more narrow. There is more of, I don't want to say cliff, but more rock scrambling. And then a lot of rolling rocks that you have to be quite careful for your footing when you get down. And it is a longer descent than the crack itself. At the bottom though, there is a beautiful river, and we sat there for a little bit, regrouped, and prepared ourselves for the rest of our hike.
Yes, and the roots are slippery, so if you might want to throw your poles and use your both hands.
Okay, I might. Oh, we did that. Woo!
Really? Yeah. Oh.
Another fun obstacle for the day was a waterfall. It was a really nice sized multi-tiered waterfall. Well, there was water flowing, but it wasn't going fast. And we actually had to hike up the waterfall. You don't actually go around it. It was beautiful and exciting, but I can't imagine doing that in the spring when the water is fast and cold and plenty. In the summer, maybe it would be refreshing, but still also quite slippery. So keep that in mind if you are planning on doing this hike. I see lots of water right here.
But it can be very slippery. You'll be stepping in water at some point to go up this stream.
For our third night, we had booked 2 sites in Moose Pass, H22 and H23. H22 was described as being on a pond, and we had some concerns about the water. H23 was described as being on a creek, which we also had water concerns for because we didn't know what level this creek would be at this time of year and how fast it was flowing, which could impact how safe it was to drink, even with water filters. We reached H22 first. The pond actually looked like a small lake, and the water looked to be okay. Not good enough to go swimming in maybe, but good enough to filter and drink from. And it was a beautiful site. It was on the trail, so it wasn't super private, surrounded by quartzite rocks and elevated from the pond and offered just a beautiful setting. Like the night before, it was also west facing. Unfortunately, we didn't have that direct sunlight from the afternoon sun, but it was overall a warmer day and a more enjoyable experience.
I saw a bush over there.
Yeah.
While at this campsite, we did see 3 more hikers. One was a couple going clockwise, and they looked super clean. Their packs looked very small and they seemed very happy. So I don't know how quickly they were planning on doing the hike, when they had started, if it was from that day, but they just motored on by with smiles, and that was that. A little later, as it was reaching dusk and getting darker, a single hiker passed by. He did kind of pause when he passed one of our group members on the trail and asked where the next fresh water would be. And we told him, you really should probably get your water down at the pond before heading onwards. This was a bit of a concern for us because the next campsite was actually quite a distance away, and traversing that waterfall in the dark would not be a good idea. Now for a word from our non-sponsor, Voltron, or something that sounds sort of like Voltron. Do you ever have aches and pains while backpacking, hiking, or camping? Voltron is there for you. Feel that pain wash away. 4 out of our 7 campers recommend it. We couldn't have gotten through without it. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of the Cloche Silhouette Trail hike. Your viewership means so much to me, and I hope that you find this information helpful and inspiring. See you on the trail. Sorry, magic is here. Oh.